Alright, so what we're going to do today is we got this from my garden. Isn't that beautiful? What we're going to do is we're going to slice this open. The purpose of this is we're going to stuff it.
Welcome to Healthy Vegan Living!
Trying to figure out a good place for it to sit there on my board so it doesn't move. Yeah, probably right here. Now these squash are really good, but when they get this big, they have a lot of seeds. And if the seeds don't bother you, well then just cook it the way it is, and it will be delicious. But what we're doing, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to take this other one here. There's a different type of squash. Pretty much the same thing. I'm going to cut it in half. Okay, now this one here, you can really see the seeds. Get a bowl, and we're going to take the seeds out. What we're going to do is we're going to use the outer covering, and we're going to put other type of vegetables in it. In the season, then it's fine to eat the seeds because the seeds will be small. But if it's late in the season, then the seeds are rather big, as you can see. Now you can use these seeds, they're perfectly fine. And what you would do with them is you could do something along the lines of like pumpkin seeds. But you'd have to separate all of the tissue and all this stuff from the seeds. Okay, so once this is done, then this basically acts as a plate. Take it off both sides. Now this one seems to be a little too ripe, so I might avoid it too long on this one because I got these about a week ago and I didn't act on it right away. You see these spots here, you don't want this. You see this larger spot here, you don't want this. So this is not going to work. It wasn't a loss, it was a good thing. It looked like it was fine from the outside, but the inside really needs to be all one color before you go stuffing it. So we didn't get anything from this one. The next part of this is we're going to make some Lumberg Country Wild rice. This is very, very good quality rice. I made this in Las Vegas. If you saw my earlier video, you saw that already. This is going to be cooked at sea level, so there shouldn't be any problems. And we're just going to cook the recommended amounts. We don't need 4 cups to fill this. So the basic directions are, okay, the ingredients are long grain brown rice, whole grain, it's like verbani rice, whole grain black japonica rice. Calories 150 for a quarter cup, calories from fat 15, no cholesterol, no sodium, 35 grams of total carbohydrates, 3 grams dietary fiber, no sugar, 3 grams of protein. Open the bag, measure it, and cook that next. Alright, the ingredients are fairly simple. You take a look on the side cover here, it says in a medium saucepan, this is medium, bring 2 cups of water and 1 cup of rice to a boil. So 1 cup of rice, These are really cool. I opened the top of it off, and it's got a little Velcro here. I don't know if you can see that right here, so that it reseals the bag. And you can see, I'll move it closer, you can see the three. You have black, you have brown, you have white. You can see the three different types of rice that are mixed in. Okay, so there's the rice. And now we need 2 cups of water. So this is the water. So pour that in. Now we're going to move to the stove. But first we're going to turn on the oven. Set at 350 degrees. We're going to press the start button where my finger's at, my thumb, and that's starting. Next, we're going to cook the rice. So we got to thank the cook, Linda, because she cleaned the oven and it's very pretty for the video. Alright, so next we turn on the stove top. You see, now it's on high, and I'm going to bring it to a boil. Now the instructions are simple. Cover with a tight-fitting lid, reduce heat to a low simmer, and cook for 45 to 50 minutes. So normal rice, say 5-minute rice, you'd cover with a lid, and 5 minutes later, boom, it'd be ready for you. Then if you were to use like basmati rice, and you were or to use some long grain white rice, then what happens there is you boil it for like 5 minutes, and then you cook it under low heat for maybe 25 to 30 minutes, and it's fine. But when you have long grain rice, it's different. It's a longer time, and I think it's because these are much more wilder, not as refined. Interesting to note is that this is non-GMO certified, and it says right on here, my favorite symbol, vegan. But if you had this type of rice before, it fits anyone. You can be vegan or non-vegan to use it. Alright, so we're going to let this boil. Okay, after you finish washing them, get the extra liquid off of it. What you're going to be doing is applying some extra virgin olive oil. I got this. Members Mark is a product of Sam's Club. It says on here it's USDA organic. It's very easy to over pour on this stuff. So get yourself a small container and pour a little bit in. And that's probably way more than I need. Then take a brush. This is the brush that I use specifically for oils. And what you're going to do, this is called herbes de Provence, and the herbs are a band of herbs and spices including basil, rosemary, marjoram, sage, savory, oleander. I think that's what it says. Anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to take some and you're going to measure it just to make it easier so you have an idea of what I'm doing. You're going to use, well, you probably have to use more, so let's use for right now 2 teaspoons. So you see what you're doing? You're going to use this much, like here. You're going to drop it in here, and you're going to keep it open. Then you're going to use the other tip. Yeah, this is real scientific, as you can tell. And then you're going to use more oil. You don't need that much. It's just what you're trying to do. Just kind of get a little coating. You're going to use your fancy dandy brush, and you're going to see how I'm doing. You're going to coat all the sides of this squash. Not good that there still has water in it, but it doesn't matter. It's all going to evaporate anyway. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. No salt has been applied yet. So if you're sensitive to salt, there's not going to be a problem with this meal. Okay? And you don't have to use much oil. I probably use more than I've ever used. I'm going to put this to the side. And you're going to do the same thing with our little flying saucer squash. I'm sure there's a name for this. I will look into it. That's the dog who wants to go back outside. Okay. TJ has had enough from his nap and he wants to go for a walk. Okay, you do the same thing to this one. so that when the rice is ready we can stuff this and it'll be a very nice and tasty. You'll have the taste of the rice, the inside of the squash, and it makes a nice little container. If you had like 4 or 5 of these, you could have nice little meals, easily pass them along. If you have a huge family, I'll get rid of this water here, you can use this, you fill it full of rice, and then you can chop it up in little pieces, and it makes a nice little container and with the rice in it. Okay, so salt, what we're going to use is pink Himalayan sea salt. This is Member's Mark. I bought this at Sam's Club. What we're going to do is we're going to lightly apply salt to this. That's lightly. And then we're going to put it on a oven pan and we're going to put it with parchment paper. Okay, alright. Now we still have about half an hour to go on our rice, so I'm going to walk the dogs while that's done. I'm not leaving the camera for you guys to watch it, nothing. And I will be back to finish this meal. These are the seeds that I've collected, and we'll be putting that in our garden in the fall. So this is a Crofton silicone pan. I don't cook on silicone. So what I do is I use parchment paper purchased at Sam's Club. And I'm going to do this next. It's fairly easy to do a pan. I usually cut a little too large. And I just measure like this. And then I flip it around so I can do the other side. And I just flip it like that, and then this piece will go over here. Then of course we'll flip it around this way, and we'll have the 2 other squashes over here. And when the rice is ready, we'll just pour it. We'll get rid of the extra oil, and we'll pour the rice inside of it, nice and warm. We'll stick it in the oven for about half an hour to an hour, depending on how long it takes to cook the squash. And then we'll have a meal for the night. Alright, so we'll see in a little bit. We still have another 28 minutes to cook the rice, so we have some time to clean up the kitchen. Boy, the time gets away from you. So what I'm doing is I'm putting these ahead of time. The rice still has 15 more minutes to go, and I'm going to start cooking this. Then we'll leave the rice in, and we'll have both the squash and the rice go together. Cook together. Okay, so close the door, nobody gets burned. Can't really see it through here. Alright, I pulled this out of the oven so I can show you this. What we're going to do is we're going to incorporate these whole roasted red peppers, and also Member's Mark, so they come from Sam's Club. No, we can't use them, and let me show you why. This happens. This one here has got mold in it, so we're not going to be able to use that. It's something you always have to consider, that white spot there. So this is not going to be used. Sort of a waste, but it happens. To use the red peppers, what we're going to use is we're going to use some whole kernel corn from Signature Select. It's non-BPA, which means the liner inside the can doesn't have a plastic product inside of it to leach into the food. It's got 80 calories per half a cup, 0 saturated fats, 300 milligrams of sodium. That's a little high if you have problems with your salt, and 7 grams of sugar. So over here you can see it better. Potassium, which is 105 milligrams, and it's at 2% of your dietary, contains corn, water, sugar, and salt. Alright, we're going to open that up. The rice has just got a few more minutes to go. Thin layer of corn on the bottom, the long grain rice on top. Now, I don't use this corn water, so I'm going to get rid of it. I take a spoon like this, which got holes in it, so I don't, and then I just layer a layer of corn all over the squash. So they see, we don't want to put too much corn in, but we want to make sure we can still put the rice in. Same thing with these little ones. That's too much. We're going to pull out a little bit here, put some in here, and it's going to give a nice sweet flavor to it. And this I'll store in a container. Alright, so that's done. I'm going to stick this back in the oven so it has a little bit of cooking time on the squash. I'm going to put it back in our 350 degree oven and we're going to basically cook this for about half an hour. Okay, so now the rice is cooked. You see how delicious it looks? You just flake it up. We're going to take the top, we're going to cover all of this squash. I'm going to put it back in the oven, and it's going to cook for about 20 more minutes and it'll be ready. That was the advantage of cooking it a little bit earlier. So then what's going to happen is when this is cooked, you're going to have this delicious rice topping with the corn and the squash. And what we're going to do on these is I'm going to kind of push them in because I don't want them to leave. Okay, so what the rice that did fall out, it's just going to get really hard and probably burn a little bit. But that's basically it. Not a big deal. It's going to be just fine. The rest of the rice I'll store away in a container and have it for later in the week. Alright, now I'm going to put this back in the oven. Now I'm pulling out the meal out of the oven. Gotta let it vent a little bit, otherwise we get a blast of heat. So it's on top of the chopping block. Put it on a serving plate. I'm going to save these larger pieces over here. I'm going to save these larger pieces over here for tonight because right now it's only 3 o'clock. I'm going to have a little bite of this smaller one over here. See how it turned out. Okay, so I'm just going to taste that right there. Oh, it's perfect. So this small one is already cooked, and with the infusion of the rice, it has a really nice flavor. So this is something that you could do. If you could find one of these giant squashes, you cut it in half, you take the seeds out. You don't have to use corn, you could use lima beans, you could use all kinds of wonderful vegetables, and you line it inside next to a squash and you put the rice on top. Now, my wife would not approve of the lima beans. But you know, you can try different vegetables and you can make this into a very satisfying meal. So it's the next day and this was in the refrigerator waiting for me, and I'm going to eat it tonight. I've got a plate here, and this is part of the green squash. If I invert it, you'll see it. And I'm going to take one of the what I call the flying saucer squash, and I'm going to warm this up and I'm going to enjoy it. It turned out to be very, very good. I'm very satisfied with this, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I did. The one thing that I did do that was different is I applied some medium paste chunky salsa on the top of it, and it gave it a little bit more of a bite. Because just as this is, it just needs a little bit more of a sauce on top of it. Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.
If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.